So, does writing your book in English feels unnatural? Like one of the hardest things you would ever do? Welcome to my world. For those of you who English isn't your first language, in this video, we are going to look at simple ways you can walk your way around it. We are also going to look into areas where aspiring authors who are non-English speakers get stuck. So, let's jump right in. So, can you write a book in English when English is not your first language? Yes. But how do you overcome the challenge? Well, writing in English when English is not your first language should not be an obstacle. Recently, I've been speaking with many women over 40 who want to write a children's book, and a common concern keeps coming up. My English isn't strong enough to write my story. That worry is real, but it's also holding too many powerful stories back. Why should we fix this? Well, many books are written in English, and even in countries where English isn't the first language, many parents choose English books for their children. Why? English has become a global language of communication and opportunity. So yes, there is value in writing in English, but struggling with the language doesn't mean you can't tell your story. It simply means you need a better approach, not more fear. Writing a book in English when it is not your first language is like crossing a bridge in a foreign country. The signs are different from your own country. The language feels unfamiliar. You move slower because you need to understand what is going on around you. You are thinking every step as you move, but you are still moving because you have to cross the bridge. And with every step, your understanding improves. You become more confident, and eventually you cross the bridge without understanding the language. That is the same speaking a language that is different from yours. You don't need to be fluent to move forward. You become fluent by moving forward. So, let's break this down clearly. When English is not your first language, writing takes longer. Not because you don't know what to do, but because you are doing three things at the same time. You are thinking about your story. You are translating your story into a different language, and you are even editing as you go. All of this is exhausting. So instead of writing freely, you slow down, and the process feels heavy. And when something feels heavy, what happens? When writing feels difficult, you avoid it. No one wants to be working on something that feels hard, feels heavy, and exhausting. So we begin to make excuses. You tell yourself stories like, I will do it when I have time. But what you mean is, I will do it when it no longer feels heavy. And that day rarely comes. So the cost of not moving, you delay and eventually abandon your projects. So let's have a little bit of a mindset change here. Instead of delaying or stop working on your project of writing your own children's book, recognize that children's book could be a game changer. Why? Children's books are the only spaces where simplicity is expected, clarity is valued, short sentences are favored. You are not trying to impress with a children's book. You are trying to communicate, which means you can be yourself in this space. Your natural writing style is an advantage to you. So, how does thinking in another language shape your story? When you think in a different language, something interesting happens. Your storytelling becomes more visual because you give it deep thinking, more intentional, more direct, because you are not relying on complicated words. You are choosing meaning carefully. That creates clarity, and clarity is what makes stories memorable. Now, here is where some people get stuck. There are two common traps to avoid. Trap number one, over-editing too early. When you are writing your first drafts, just write. Don't become overly worried about writing in English. Just write it the way you want. You can correct every sentence later. But if you start correcting your sentences before the story even begins, you will never move forward. Trap number 2, comparing your writing. If you read books that have been written by native speakers and they sound highly polished, and then you start assuming that your own starting point is not good enough, that their polished version, well, you will never get there. Remember that many books by native speakers were also professionally edited. So your book can also become professionally edited and polished as well. So here is a better process to follow. Step number 1, capture your story naturally. Just speak it out or write it quickly. No corrections needed. Just get it out. If you're struggling with the words to use, you could ask a native speaker. You could explain your thoughts to a native speaker and allow them to give you options. Your job at this early stage is to write. Your editor will smoothen things later. Step number 2, shape the structure so it's easier for you. Break things into beginning, middle, and end. That way you have a story, not just sentences. Step number 3, clean. Don't rewrite. Fix clarity, fix any problem. Don't fix perfection, because perfect does not exist. Focus on understanding and let your story flow naturally, not sounding advanced. Step number 4, get one outside eye to look into what you are doing. One person that you trust that can review what you are doing, preferably a native speaker, not 10 opinions, because if you have 10 different opinions, then the voices create, too many voices create confusion, and we don't need confusion here. So just get one person to look over what you are writing and tell you what to do. If you are an aspiring author and English is not your first language, your story has a unique edge that native speakers sometimes do not have. You have perspective. You've experienced different cultures, different systems, and different ways of seeing the world. That shapes your storytelling. And that difference is what will make your book eventually stand out. Instead of asking, is my English good enough? Ask, is my story clear enough to be understood? That one shift changes everything. Because clarity is achievable, perfection is not achievable. If you've been holding back from writing your book until it feels ready, you don't need more preparation, you need movement, like crossing a bridge. If you are not moving, you will never cross. But if you are moving, you will eventually get to the other side of the bridge. So start with what you have. Start with the way you speak. Even if you cannot speak it clearly and you can write it in your first language, write it in your first language and get someone to translate it for you in English. Then you can edit your translated version. Start with what you have. Refine as you go. Your words may sound different. Your sentences may not be perfect, but your message is still powerful, is still meaningful, and is still needed. An asset doesn't make your voice less valuable. An imperfect English doesn't make your story less important. So the key element in this video is your story doesn't need perfect English, it needs your story. And the challenge of whether it is polished or not, let your editors worry about that. If this is something that you've been struggling with for so long, you don't have to figure this out alone. I help women 40 plus go from idea to publish children's books with a clear process that works even if English is not your first language. So comment book in the comment section or check out the link in the description and I will give you next steps. Thanks for tuning in and I will see you in the next video.